Okay, so in this video, I'm going to build something over a function that I had done in a previous video. In one of the app scripts videos, I made a video how we can create this function that will go get in which column is the label that we're looking for. So if we have different tabs and our column that we're looking for, let's say our target column is sales, is located over here, right? We may need to somehow find which column it's in so we can combine all of those columns together to our master tab. And that's what we're going to do. Now, if you don't understand how this function works, you can go ahead and watch that video. It's a separate video, and then come back to this one, and that will be easy to follow. So first of all, that was the use case of this function that I've demonstrated. So basically, if we're looking for the column, well, in this case, we're looking for sales column in this particular tab. If we search, and that's called partial data 1, this function will tell us in which column of that tab is sales. So if it finds sales, then we're basically going to go through the rest and do whatever we have to do. So let's try to now combine these things together. First of all, I have multiple tabs here: partial data 1, partial data 2, partial data 3, and I have to be able to loop through these tabs so I can go over multiple tabs. And the second thing I have to do is just be able to find a column, which is what we already done, and then basically just pick all of these values under that column. Let's first of all pick the values in the column. So for example, if we do sales in partial data 1 tab, like I'm doing here, it's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, column 5. Let's just call it call index for column index, and that will be our column index that we'll find. Now, what I'm gonna do at this point, well, there are a couple of things I have to do. First of all, we have to, let's just get the tab by its name, and let's say the name is the same tab for right now. There it is. So this will get us this tab in a variable SS, and then we will go ahead and find in that tab where is the sales column. And once we find that, we can get our values to a range. So we can say var call values, which will be our column values, we'll have to go to our spreadsheet and get a range. And that's going to start, so we're always going to start from the second row right here. So row 2, and the column is going to be whatever column we were able to find over here. That's our call index. And the number of rows, we'll do it in a second, but the column for the rest of the sales is going to be the same thing, call index. So the only thing we're missing here is this number of rows, and that we're going to find by basically finding out how many things we have in this particular spreadsheet. So to do that, we'll go on top here and do variable num rows equals, and what we'll do, we'll go to our spreadsheet and get last row. Now the problem with this getting last row is that it's going to get us this row, which is number 15. But what we have to do, we have to do number of rows we need instead of the row where it ends. So the number of rows we need is starting from here through here. So in this particular case, it's going to be 14. So if this is 15 and minus the label, it's going to be 14. So it's always one less than the last row. So therefore, this is going to be this minus 1 number of rows. That's what we have. And then we can do our get values method to basically put this in an array. And that's going to be an array of our values. So if we just simply log this out, call values variable to see what it's like. Let's view the log. We'll see this is basically an array of our values, or it should be an array of our values, but it looks a little different. 3766, 2344, 3760, 2344. So whatever reason, it's getting 2 columns. So something is wrong there. So let me go get, oh, I know what. So we want to start from this column that we found out. So if a sales was number, whatever this column was, that's where we want to start, right? But number of columns we want is just 1. So what I did is I repeated this, but it should be the number of columns we want is 1. So if I run this again, and this is why it's a good idea to always check step by step what's going on and check your logs. And there it is. That's basically an array of our values here. Great. So we were able to extract those values. It should start with this 37 and end with 529, and it sure does. So perfect. So once we get those values, the question is, what are we going to do with them? Basically, I'm just going to grab those values and return them in a function. That's what I'm going to do. Let's just return that. So what I mean by returning it, I'm going to copy this and create another function and call it get column values. And that function is going to receive some arguments, so label, and we'll give it also the tab name. So similar to this one, right? And we're gonna go and put this, replace this with variables, sheet name here, and this one is gonna be a label. Perfect. So that should get us what we need. Let me remove some of these lines here so it's a little tighter here, and I'll simply just return that for now. Perfect. So save that, and the reason I did this is that going back now, if I wanted to get something, I could simply just say, instead of all of these, I could just say, well, let's get all of our, what we have here, for example, state, and the name of the tab is this one. And if I run this, that should get us the list of states. And if I change it to state or sales or whatever it was, that should basically just get me that. If I change the tab name, it's going to give me the other tab name, right? And so on. That's fine. So now that I got those values, what I want to try is something different. So I want to get those sales from the second tab, and I'm gonna do this hacky way for now, and column values 2, I'll call it. And what I want to see, what happens when I try to merge these two together. So if I do column values, can because this is an array, I think I should have a method concat that works on it, but we'll see if it does or not. And I think that returns a whole different thing, so I'm just gonna log that out right away instead. And I want to see, let's comment this out. I want to see what this returns. So if I do this and concat, which is concatenating the second array, what do I get as a result? So run log 3766 blah 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 529 to 29, and after 529 do we have what, 188, I guess. 529.36 at some point. 529.36, there it is. Then we have what, 188.20, and then it should go 318.12. So this seems to work. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that it works, but it does, which is kind of nice. So that tells me that we could use this. So for now, I'm just gonna comment all of this out, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do something different. So right now, I'm just gonna copy this line really quickly here. Get sheet by name. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get my active spreadsheet and get sheets. All right, so let's call the sheets, and I want to see what happens if I try to loop through this. So I'm gonna see what happens if you do for each loop here, for each sheet in sheets. Logger.log sheet. That's weird, because maybe that you just don't do for each, you just do for in JavaScript, I guess, just like that. So I want to see what this sheet is giving me, if anything. So let's see, my function log 0 1 2 3. So that gives me an index. How many tabs we have? 1 2 3 4. We have 4 tabs. What if I do something like this? And then log sheets now. So run. Maybe it's giving us 2 things. Sheet, 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 sheet. Okay, the other one was the index in the array, and this one is seems to be the actual tab. But to find that out, let's see what the name is. Get sheet name. So that's the method, because it's not going to show up in autocomplete here. That's why I'm doing this. So I want to see what happens when I do this. Awesome. So that gives me a list of all my tabs. This gets us all of our sheets, and then we're looping through those sheets, and the sheet gives us a sheet as an object, like as a whole, the spreadsheet. Now, not the spreadsheet, but the sheet. Now, out of that whole sheet that we have, we're getting the name of it. And we could have used that sheet itself, but since I've built this function using the name of the sheet, which I probably shouldn't have done, I should probably just do the sheet instead of the name of the sheet. Maybe somebody can rewrite it and just use the sheet instead of the name of the sheet. But that's the name of the sheet. It's giving us the name of all of the tabs. So what that means is that if I just create this variable column values before this, and I just have an empty array, and then I basically just do this. So sheet name equals, let's assign a variable, I guess, this, and then it will take that variable and we'll plug it in right here, and that's a variable too, and we'll do temp values, and then we'll do what we did here. We'll concatenate. Now it seems like it's returning rather than changing the values, so we're gonna have to do this equals this concat this. Okay, so now that I did this, let me explain what I'm trying to do. Hopefully it will work. So basically what I'm doing here is this is gonna give us the name of the tab, one of the tabs. And then we're gonna basically take that name of the tab, we're gonna plug into this function, and this function, remember what it does, it gets all those values for that column that we mentioned, sales. And it's gonna put it in this temp values variable. Then I'm gonna put that and add them to this array that originally is gonna be empty. So first, when I add that to this array, it's basically just gonna become just those. But the second time, it's already like all the values from the first tab. It's gonna go through the second tab. It's gonna add all the values from the second tab to it, and the third tab and fourth tab, and so on. Now, one thing I want to do, I want to make sure that I don't do this for my master tab. So, and that means I'm gonna say, I'm gonna do an if statement. I'm gonna say if sheet name does not equal to master, then we would like to do this. Okay, so if it's not master, then we would like to do that. Now, as a result, in the end, would like to log this out to see what we got. The array. So apparently I made a mistake someplace. Let's see what I did. If sheet name. Oh, you know what? That's too many equal signs. There we are. Not equal to. Let's run this. And let's view the log. So 3766 and last numbers are 9932, 9932. So let's see. So perfect. So that combined all of these three tabs and did not do anything with a master. Good. So now we have a whole list of all of our sales. Now we just have to basically put them here. So this is gonna get us everything for sales column. Then we're gonna do what? Well, first of all, let me remove all this junk. And let's see. So first of all, again, I'm gonna convert this to a function. Copy this, paste the function, a copy of this, and I'm gonna call this get combined column values. So for this function, we have to give it what? We have to give it the label, and we have to give it what's our master tab. So label and master sheet name. So we're gonna go here and replace this with this, and the label is gonna be this. And then we'll return this. Okay, so that returns that. Save that. So we should be able now to use this over here. And how are we going to do that? Well, we can just say var this equals that, and then the label will be sales, and a master tab is called master. So if I didn't mess anything up, I should be able to run this. And get all of those combined, and I should be able to just change it to like state. And run this. And this should give me all the state columns combined. That means that I should be able to now use this probably in my worksheet. Let's see if I can, which will be kind of interesting. So if we go under master, and I just basically do equals this, that gives me a combined list of all of my states. Now, if I just choose to do the region, that should do that. Now I should be able to probably copy this to the right, and that should do these. Now what I'm concerned about is that somehow this one doesn't have a region. Now let's see if that's the actual case, or do we have a problem? So the last one, oh, it is missing. So now if we go here and Western, that should hopefully show up. Now what is this? It's not probably updating automatically. It's Western here. That's our third one. Kind of not optimal, because if we're going here and we're trying to add some data, we want that to be on our master, right? So if we go and type Midwestern, Illinois, and some number, we would like that to automatically appear in here, which it does not. So we have to go back and reload the whole thing for this to work. But that doesn't matter, because I was never intending to use it this way anyways. But that gets us what we need. So I'm able to use that function on each column and kind of combine my data and get the results. Now, going back to our thing. Now we're going to go back here. So far, we've created a function that gets the same column from all the tabs other than our master tab, and basically just creates a whole new column out of all of those values combined. Now what we have to do is the last step. Instead of using this, we need to basically have the function come here, find where it needs to put the stuff, and do it. And what I'm going to do, I'm basically going to create something that's going to go through here and find what labels we have. Then based on that, it should go and find those labels on the other tabs and get us all the combined data. So first of all, let me just do this. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get to our master tab. In our master tab, we would like to search through this and find, basically we want to get this range. So let me copy this. Where is it? There's probably 17 of those. I can't find one. Okay, copy, paste. So we're gonna get sheet by name, and the name of the sheet is gonna be master. So we're gonna get our master sheet. And then what we're going to do in that master sheet, we're going to find out how many columns we have. So we're gonna do ss get last column. And we're gonna put that in a variable. So we'll do var lc for last column is that. Then we're gonna create a range and just put it in an array, I guess. So it's gonna be var labels equals to, and we're gonna go to our spreadsheet and get range, and it's gonna start in the first row and in the first column, which is our A1 cell, and we're gonna go all the way through here. It's gonna be number of rows, so 1, we're in the same row, and number of columns is gonna be our last column. So we have 1, 2, 3 columns, last column. And we're gonna get values, which should put those labels in an array. And in those arrays, if you remember, it comes as an array of arrays. So I'm going to just get the first element to get the actual array. So to see what comes out of it, let's just log this out. Region, state, sales. Perfect. So we're able to go get those labels. Now we should be able to loop through those labels. So if I do, I'm not sure if for each works here. Seems like it does. So we're gonna do callback function. So we'll do this. So this for each is basically a way through loop through everything in his labels. This is, I've done this in a different way when you do this for in sheets. This the same thing. It's basically the same thing that I'm doing here. So maybe I should keep consistent and do it the other way, but I'm gonna do it this way this time. So basically I'll just do label for right now, and I want to log out to make sure it's getting me what I need. So I want to see what happens when I do this for each. Does it actually print me the labels for each column, or it doesn't? Log, it does. Region, state, sales. So it loops through all of those columns. Now that we are able to loop through those columns, we should be able to do this. Right? And we're gonna have to take that label and plug it right here. So first it's gonna do it for the first column. So for the first column, we're gonna just go find out that where that basically column is in all of the other tabs other than a master tab. We're going to combine them together and put this in this variable. And then what we will probably have to do is put it back in our tab. So we're going to do spreadsheet get range. So the question is, where are we going to put this thing? Well, let me actually do something. So this for each should also give us a second variable, if I'm not mistaken, which is the index. Let's see if it does. I'm gonna run this. Zero, 1, 2. Right, so it's index, but it's basically 1 off. So if we do +1, because it's an index in our array or whatever we're calling this in our programming language, 1, 2, 3, perfect. So then we can use that because it's going to go through all the columns. It's going to start with the first column and basically go from there. That's good. We could technically just go and search through the column, find where the label is and put it over there, which might be better practice if we want to be able to move these columns. But at the same time, then if we're going to be moving them and not starting from the first one, we have to also think that when we look at this range, it's not going to start from A1. So I'm not going to be worried about it right now, but it's definitely an improvement that could be made on this. So label I, that's what I'm going to use here. That means that here, after I get all of these values, I'm going to go spreadsheet and I'm going to get the range, which is this master spreadsheet right now, this SS. It's going to be, when we put those values, we're going to start from the second row. The column is going to be wherever we need to put that. It's going to be here, that I+1 thing. And then we need to figure out the number of rows and the number of columns. The number of columns is easy because it's a one column at a time type of thing. The number of rows is going to be basically as many things as we have here. And we can do that by simply doing that length. I always mistype that length, so hopefully I didn't do it this time. So that will get us the length of that. That should work. And if we do set values, we should be able to just plug this in here. Let's try to run this and see what we get. It's okay if it's running longer because it's now looping through all of those tabs. And here we go. That's our combined master tab using our script. So 42. So that's what? That's 14. Another 14. So that's 28. And then 28 and 13. That's 41. So the labels on top, 42. That makes sense. So there we have it. So we're able to get all of the stuff and combine it all together on our tab. Now the only thing I'm going to do here, because I'm repeating this master and it could change, I'll assign it to a variable and call it master sheet. And I'm going to call it equals master, semicolon, and then we'll just simply replace these with our variables. So we can, if we have to change it, we'll have to change it in one single spot, and I don't need this anymore. And that should basically be our master tab. It's gonna basically just loop through all the labels we have here and get them together. And let me explain what I mean exactly by that. So these things now don't even have to be in the same order. So if I just, let me just clear this up, and let's say we do sales here and then do region here. Let's say I don't even want to do state. Something like this, right? So let's try to run this. Hopefully that will finish at some point. Taking longer than it probably should. All right, perfect. So we got our sales. We got our, maybe we should do some formatting here. So let's do like currency formatting here. And why is this aligned? Anyways, maybe I should just do the format painter and steal the formatting. Here we go. So there we are. So that's our now sales here and region here. And we don't even do the other one. So you could just pick which columns you want, so long as those columns are available in all different tabs. Now, if I just want these 3 columns, region, state, and sales, so I can do state, region, and sales. And maybe one thing I should do is add a functionality for this to clear what's in this tab before it puts the stuff in there. So that way it will clear the results. Yeah, let's do that. So I guess before we decide to do the labels and do all of this, once we get the last column, we should also get the last row then. Get last row. The first thing we'll do, we'll simply just clear the results. So we'll do get range. And we'll start from the second row, right? We start in here and the second column. First column, sorry. It's the second row, first column. And then we'll go to the, basically we need 3 columns and we need to clear these rows. So again, number of rows, it's going to be our LR -1 because of that label on top. And this one is going to be LC. There's no left extra stuff there. And we should be able to do clear. We can do clear content or probably clear content so it doesn't clear up the format. So that should clear the results first, and then we'll dump the new data in there. But we should be able to also probably add a button here to assign to our function. So we'll call this combine data. Save this, and here I'll do insert, and we'll do drawing, and that will be this combine data. Again, you can't worry about this formatting and how it looks. I'm not really concerned about that. Save this, and then I'm gonna click here. See those little 3 icons? It's half blocked because I'm gonna do this so you can see it. There it is, 3 dots. Click here, assign script, and I'm gonna do that combine data. So I'm gonna click. There we go. That's our combined data. So we should be able now to go here, add some more stuff here, add here, add some here, and add some here. And that should be a lot of extra, maybe like 10 extra rows now. Let's see how many. We have 42 right now, so I'm going to click combine data. It's going to clean it up, and it's going to combine and put it on again. So you can see we have 53 rows of combined data now. And that should do it. So again, there are things that can be improved here, and if anybody wants to do that, I would like to see the results of your improvements. I'm going to actually share the script, so anybody wants to play around with it and make some improvements to it. Another improvement that possibly interesting here is that you might have extra tabs that you don't want to touch. So you might want to give extra list of tabs that you don't want to be combined. So that would be a nice improvement on this, but I'm gonna end it on that and let you take it from there. All right, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.